A crypto review, and this review is going to be on our boy here, Alf. He's got GRT all RSIs topped at 1202. Now, a lot of times, guys, when it says all RSIs topped, you have to remember that every coin, once it gets past the 80 line to the 100 line, it's going to finish strong because that's the most momentum. So that means that GRT should be pumping at this time. So it's 1202. Let me go see here. That's about an hour and 30 minutes ago. So let's go back and let's take a look at an hour and 30 minutes ago at 1202. And I'm going to box that out real quick just so that we have that time frame. So 1202. So this was the 12 o'clock time frame that we're currently in. And I'm going to make that a blue box for right now. So that we can understand what we're looking at. So this blue box is basically the alert that Alpha gave us that all RSIs are top. Now let's take a look here, and we can see here what he's talking about. He has the 4-hour RSI completely topped here. Now the beautiful thing about this RSI is that the 4-hour actually RSI is topped out way back here. So I want to cover some simple longs here so you guys can understand how to take advantage of some longs, right? Zoom back. What up, baby? In it for the money, man. Welcome in, guys. So let me show you guys how to take advantage of some longs here, especially after you see some of these big dumps here, right? I want you to take a look here and kind of recognize a pattern, right? So the first thing that we're going to do here is the pattern here was we got a red moon on the 4-hour. The 4-hour RSI comes down. There has green volume. It breaks negative. We get a pullback. Moving forward, we get another 4-hour green moon with another 4-hour RSI breaking down. We get a massive pullback, right? So that's how easy it is to play the game. 4-hour moon, 4-hour RSI, pullback, right? Now we're on the opposite direction here where we're getting the 4-hour green moon with the 4-hour RSI. And look at this massive push that you had there. If you're just playing your 4 hours like you're supposed to, that's what you have. But what I want to show you here is the call out from GRT was that, you know, all the RSIs were topped. Now, a couple of the plays that you could have made here was when you see a 4-hour RSI, and it hits the top and it comes down, but then it bounces back up, that normally is going to give you hurrah, because very simply is anytime you see a coin coming back and then this is the retest and then it gains volume, builds up, consolidates, whatever you want to say, comes down and then pushes back up. This is where we see that big volume move. And you can see right here on the green on our indicator, we have a nice volume indicator here saying that we got volume coming in heavy. But more importantly, both channels are bending up at the same time, causing this move. And that's where we're at. Now, when you get the alert that all RSIs are topped, that means that, you know, you're probably going to see, and 100% of the time, you will see a last push, a last hoorah. Your job is to never get into a trade too early, right? So hit the like buttons, guys. If you're going to hit TikTok, understand what I'm saying here. Never get in a trade too early. That's where you lose money, okay? You guys understand that? If you get into a trade too early, you will lose money. All right, let's get some likes in there. We need to get to 10,000 likes so we can keep the live going. We got about 30 minutes to do that. Otherwise, I'm gonna cut it off and I'm going to go into my Discord. So at this point here, we're pushing up. We get a nice push here. And the beautiful thing here is that you never have to make any trades until you have positive volume and have complete security, right? I'm going to come back to here and go over what's called the 4-hour trade. But I just want to touch base here on lessons and videos that are coming up. You can see right here that we get positive volume in here. And inside that positive volume, right, from this point on, this is where the 4-hour, right, and I'm going to mark this here as red because I always do my 4 hours in red. I'm going to mark that red because what happens here, let me delete that because I have no idea what that just did. All right. What happens here inside of this, why is this backwards? Get rid of that. So interesting. I have to figure that out for a second here, because right now the lines have become control copy, control paste. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to mark off this positive volume area, right, which is basically right here. And so far it's still running, right? And this is the red zone. And the reason why I'm doing this is basically it's because when the 4 hour, what up, bro? Crypto Tony. Guys, hit the likes in the channel, guys. I'm about to show you how to take advantage of some longs here. Hit the likes real quick. But when you get positive volume on the higher time frames, right, you get these last hurrahs, right? You can see that the 4 hours bending sideways, causing consolidation, and then we have this move. Now, what I want to cover here is basically what Alpha is talking about. All the RSIs are topped, right? He's got the 4 hour RSI topped, which is correct. He came in and told us at 12 o'clock, which is right at this time here, that all RSIs were topped. And if you take a look from the 3 hour, the 4 hour, they are topped. The 2 hour at that time when he came in basically was coming to the top. But you have these last hurrahs here. So in order to make a short, which is what, you know, these guys are going to be looking for here, or to enter some longs, is you just need some pullbacks and some bounces, right? So we do have a pullback and a bounce, and then we have a pullback and a bounce, right? So here's the push up, pullback, and another push up. Now, if you're trading inside of here, you can see that this particular area, 12 o'clock, happens right about here where he starts talking about this trade being entered into all RSIs to the top. And you have a significant scenario here, right? And one of the things that we want to talk about is always focusing on, you know, taking a look at the 1 hour, right? The 1 hour is our guide to when we can short this, right? So obviously we cannot short this until we get a red 1 hour moon, right? That's going to be the pullback. Now, the other way to call this out is going to be the 15-minute pullback. Is when we get a 15-minute red moon, we'll get a pullback on here. So currently we don't have any pullbacks or any shorts on here because you need a 15-minute red moon to do that, and we're not even close to that. We're actually headed up here. So GRT is in a long position still, and we need a 1 hour red moon to pull back, and we're not even close to that because these lines are still heading in the upward direction. So this is the last hurrah. And a lot of guys, the reason why you get into bad shorts or positions is because sometimes you just get in too early, guys. Stop jumping in early, right? So you never lose money. Okay, let me how do I say that, man? You never lose money if you don't make a trade. Right, guys? You understand what I'm saying? You never lose money if you don't make a trade. But if you get into a trade too early, you will lose money. Right? You never lose money if you don't do a trade, but you will always lose money if you get in too early. That makes sense? That makes sense to you guys? You can't lose money if you're not in a trade, but you will lose money if you're in a trade too early. Right? That makes sense? So let me break that down for you right here. So we have a text. Let me grab this T here and I'm gonna click that. And let's see. Let me go here. Let me get my T. Let me go in here. And what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna basically put this in here, right? Okay. And it's very simple to understand, guys. Control all. Oh, control all. You will never lose money when you're not in a trade. You will always lose money if you're too early. Wait. Right? So that is the reality, guys. So I'm going to post this in my Discord real quick because it's good to have this understanding of what we're talking about, right? And the reality is here is that cancel. All right, I'm going to post this in here. I'm going to save this real quick. Save as weight. I'm going to put that in there. Right, guys. So that's a very, I'm looking into thoughts, bro. Key, you should look. Roundhouse. What are you looking into? Looking into 8-7? What do you mean 8-7 on what? On GRT? Is that what you're saying? You're targeting 8-7? Is that what you're talking about? So basically, yeah, I mean, you know, you still have those. Who knows how high this will go? But I mean, if I was targeting it here, you have a strong high at 8-7, probably like 8-8, right? You see your strong high here. Your strong high is sitting up here, so you have a strong high at this level here, right? So you'd be looking at 8849. So 8849 is a strong high for GRT. Right? So that's kind of like the high you should be shooting for there, right? So that's kind of where you're at there. GRT has a high of 8849. Right? So if you're looking at anything else, so the first pullback here is going to be a 15-minute red moon, which we're going to come take a look at. That's really what we're looking for, is that 15-minute red moon in there to get our first snatch back and go from there. So it could be coming up here anytime soon, because we can see here in these other time frames that once we're getting a 5-minute red moon here, we are getting some pullback. So if we get a 5-minute red moon, right, that's going to be a sign of what's coming up. But right now, GRT is pushing. You need to allow that to finish. We'll come back to GRT. Good shout out, but that's how you make that trade. But I want to point out here, as you start to see these last hoorah. So before we get out of here, 2 o'clock, there was a call out that all RSIs were topped. And you can see here, you end up catching the 5-minute pullback, hits the bottom, has a green moon, hits the bottom, and then it has one push here. Now this push here isn't a bad little push. It ends up being about 0.65. So the key here would be, where do you get in on that bigger push, right? Bigger time frames, guys, give you bigger pushes. So let's kind of break this down here. So if you're operating off the 1 hour, right, which you should be, longs are operated off the 1 hour, right? So you have a 1 hour green moon. You get positive volume here on the 1 hour green. Right here is positive volume, right? That should have been your entry point right there. And this current trade, anywhere in this point here, would have gave you about 400%. So we're going to go back and cover these longs, but we are making videos on this, right? And if I have this correctly, let's go back in here. Volume is king, and let's go in here and take a look at 15-minute moon longs. Okay, 1 hour long, right? So if I click a video here, I'm going to visit a site, and let's see what this. So guys, if you ever heard of the 20 moving average, it's a simple thing. It's an indicator right here, 20-day moving average, way up here, right? Now, when it pulls back, the ideal is very simple. If it pulls back and stays above the 20 moving average, right? Because you are green moon, everything's green here. It pulls back, stays above the 20 moving average, right? Normally it uses the 20 moving average for what we call a retest, right, or a bounce. Comes back, starts to head back up. The first green candle comes in, right? This is where you would enter this trade, and then you would target the entering of this trade on this green candle. You would be targeting the top of that last candle to be used as a... All right, so let's go back here and take a look at GRT, and we're going to go to the 1 hour to kind of like break this down and see what this is. So we got a 1 hour moon. Here's the push up on that 1 hour moon. There is a pullback here that doesn't go red, and then we've seen a jump there, right? So let's go back over to the video, right? Because the video is kind of explaining. So guys, when you're inside the academy, guys, if you want to take a 15-day trial here, send me an email. But let's go back here and let's go back and comes back, starts to head back up. The first green candle comes in, right? This is where you would enter this trade, and then you would target the entering of this trade on this green candle. You would be targeting the top of that last candle to be used as a target area, right? And to be safe, this is a 2.88% gain. All right, so let's go back here and take a look at GRT. So it's the same scenario, and it's just basically taking advantage of the bounces, right? So the way the target is, you have a green moon here, right? Comes in, you get positive volume here. This is the first push up, right? This is the first tall candle, tall wick. When it pulls back down, as you can see right here, there's a little bit of a bounce, and here the 1 hour starts to go flat right here. It doesn't always go all the way down, but you can see right here the 1 hour starts to bend, and then it pushes up. So there's that pullback. It doesn't have to be a red pullback, but it does pull back here, and then it jumps here. Now let's say if you weren't paying attention to that and you let the 1 hour push its way all the way up, which is okay, that's okay too. And then you can see here the 1 hour hits the top, starts to come down, and here's an obvious bounce, okay? The 1 hour pushes up, comes back down. This is an obvious bounce here, right? And then starts to go on a move, right? We just talked about this. The first push, the pullback, and then when it bounces, that's the move. Now, if you were paying attention, you would target this section as the area of like saying, okay, if this pullback is happening and I'm starting to enter here, I know that I'm at least going to hit the top of this candle here. So that means if you would have got in anywhere in here, even if you got in halfway, right, you're still made 136% profits. But let's focus on doing 75x, right? Let's just bring this system down a little bit, and we're going to make a system that's developed for error, right? I want you guys to start trading and giving yourself a little more better at entries, right? So we're going to start doing 75x, right? And the reason why we're doing 75x is because, you know, bringing down leverage is giving you guys the ability to make more mistakes and be more profitable, very simply. So we're going to go to 75x. So what happens here, this particular move is a 1.3% move, which means you're 75% on the 1% and then 20 on there. So no matter what, guys, you made your 50% on this move. You guys understand? You guys see that? I just went over, there's a video I just made on how to do 1 hour longs. You hit the ones in the chats if you understand what I'm saying. Do you guys see the green moon? Do you guys see the push? Do you guys see the pullback? Do you guys see that? Can you see that? Is this hard to see? All right, this isn't hard to see, right? There's a green moon right here. There's a green moon right there. There's a pump, right? Now, normally you would play this because there's positive volume. Green moon, positive volume, you enter. You should have been in this trade here anyways. And that's a first trade, right? Now, if you do that trade like you're supposed to, positive volume, that's a 3% move, which is 75 times 3. It's 225%, right? Now, let's forget about that and say that you get above the 20-day moving average. You see the pump happen. Now, I don't need the 20-day moving average to tell me this is a long trade. This is a green moon, and this is positive volume. So all I need to do is see the positive volume go sideways and start to head up. Can you guys, do you see that? Is this hard to understand this? When this line comes up, you see this green line here, this line, it bends, right? And then it starts to, it bends up. Do you guys see that? Anywhere in here was an entry. Do you guys see that right there? See how it bends and then goes up? You see where it starts to head up there? Do you guys see that? Is that just like on my computer? Is that only on my screen? Like, you see this red line? See how it starts to bend up here? It's bending up with the green line. That's a channel. This channel is the long right in here, right? So if you waited for that channel all the way till it bent to here and you ride that up, that's 2.335. That's 75 times 2. That's 150%. You guys see that, right? Hit ones in the chats if you see that, right? So that's a long right there, right? Now, Let's say that you wait for the pullback and you wait for confirmation, right? Simple trade, simple normal strategy. Always wait, be patient. You can never be in a trade too early if you're waiting for the right trade. Here you go. The 1 hour hits the top. It comes down, it bounces and starts to head back up. So now here's another trade somewhere in this pattern here that you would enter. All right, let's take a look here. And what I want to look at is, all right. Okay. So in this trade here, we have a pullback and then we have another push up, right? Which we get another push up here, which gives us another trade here that you can get into in these zones here. Even if you got down here and let's say you waited for the push to start to happen, you waited for the green candle for complete clarification, and you got in somewhere over here or whatever. This is still a 2% move to the top, which is still 150% on 75x. So now let's go back to the complete trade. And let's say that you wait for the double pullback, right? Now, this is what I'm saying, guys. Listen to what I'm trying to say here. You're never too early in a trade, right? I mean, you're never too late, right? The only way to lose is if you're too early. Now let's take a look at this. Let's say that you didn't get that first trade, and then that pullback came, but you're waiting for the pullback to touch the 20-day moving average. So let's just put all this in perspective, right? So you don't get this pullback. It comes up again. You get a red moon here, right? So you stay out of this trade, and you wait for this trade to go back to a green moon, right? When it goes back to a green moon, right? It then pushes up, comes back down, and look at this. Touches the 20-day moving average. But once again, I don't need it to touch the 20-day moving average. That's just some extra guide for you. All I need is for my 1 hour moon to hit. I need a push, the pullback, and then when the 1 hour volume line right here breaks up right here, that's my next trade, right? That's the next trade. And this trade right here, when it breaks up, would have gave me somewhere in here, right, which is another 0.65%, which is on a 75%, that's about 35% gains right there. So I should have hit my 35% gains. The 1 hour then bends down again, right, bends down again, and then right here it jumps again, and I enter again here, right? So in these 1 hour pockets, right, waiting for the green candle to hit, right? We could be in here somewhere in this zone here, right? Now this trade is running right now for another 2%, so another 150% gains. So these are just I'm not going to go into the full trade of how to make this trade completely, but this is just some simple standard trading here, right? So we do have an alert here that all trends are at the top, right? So when you have all the trends at the top, there's eventually going to be a short here, guys. And the short is going to come when we get a 15-minute red moon, which is coming. And then we can see that 15-minute red moon based on the 5-minute, right? So here we go. 5-minute red moon hit, right? Now, all we're going to do is let this 5-minute red moon hit. This is the softening of the trade. This is letting us know that we're starting to get a soft area. So as this trade starts to head up here, this right now is the current top, right? So when the 5-minute breaks down for the first time, this is telling me that at this time, the top of this trade is here, okay? This is the top of the trade. It needs to break this part for me to say that it's going to go higher, right? So that's the top. That's where we're at. Now, if this gets to that point again, and what is that? 80 settings. Let me make this a little bit bigger. We're going to make that a 20. We'll make it 24. All right. So now this seems to be the top here. Now what I would expect is the next move for my 5-minute is to go back here and retouch this and start to come down, right? Because remember, I'm waiting on a 15-minute short, right? This time frame here is just to start telling me where this short is going to happen, right? So if this 5 minute starts to fail and not get close to this top, then this is the area that I'm going to start thinking is the short, right? Because remember, the last 5 minute moon was here, which gave us a line at the top of this candle here. All right, you guys see this? See this 5 minute red moon? Can you guys see that? Hit the ones in the chats if you see that. I don't know if you guys can. I don't know if the color is different on TikTok or whatever. But here, can you see that red moon? Right, that's a little red moon. There's a little circle here. You guys see that? You guys see that right there? You see that little red dot? All right, there's a little red dot here. I know the bars are orange. I need to probably change that. Here, hold on. Let me change the settings real quick. One minute, guys. 1 minute, guys. All right, there we go. I'm gonna change this up a little bit here, man. Let me move this up here. All right. All right, we gotta adjust some settings. But yeah, there's a red moon right here. There's a real red circle right here. And the top of this red circle is right here. These candles right here, right? So this is the top section here. So I'm gonna make this a little bit thicker. And what that basically is, that's the first red moon, right? That's hitting on its last move, right? So that gives me an area of a target. Now, as I get the next red moon, right? See this next red moon right here? You see right here? You see that red moon? Easier to see when it's on green. Now, this is the last area that we had that red moon. See how that worked out? Right? So when this actually broke up and came back down, it's retesting the last 5 minute support zone, right? So now I have an area here that is basically this area right here. Now, this area is what I call a channel. Now within this channel, right, this is where I'm deciding on where my top entry is for my 15-minute short that is coming up pretty soon. Eventually, it's going to be coming off this area, but more than likely, it's going to be when it breaks this line here at 8524. So more than likely, the short is going to happen off of 8524. The top of the short is 8569. So right now, this is the area of what I call area of interest right now, because we are looking for this short to happen in here. So we're going to let this play out here. We need a 15-minute red moon, which looks like it's coming up here. And to see where that is, the only thing I really need is the 5 minute to start heading down. And then that would trigger to me to start thinking of a short. But it looks like the 5 minute RSI wants to bounce a little bit more. So we'll come back to GRT, guys. But that's how to break that down. So you don't jump into a trade right away, even if all the RSIs are headed down. More than likely, there's going to be the last minute hoorah, which happened right here. And if you're watching how to do longs, you would have noticed that on your 1 hour, this last hoorah was coming off the 1 hour RSI and it was pushing up. And that's why you have to wait before you enter a long, guys. So that's the information on the GRT. We'll cover